As the sun sets on 2021, what are your plans for 2022?
Did you set yourself a resolution? Are you going to eat better? Are you going to get fitter? All those sorts of things. Quit your job maybe. There's always at least one goal we set ourselves going into the new year. It's kind of like that fresh start. But this year, maybe you think about it a little bit differently. Maybe you put your passions first, but how will you actually pursue them? What is going to make the goal stick this year as opposed to all the others? Over the last 4 or 5 years, I've shaken things up a bit, mostly professionally, but that ultimately is connected with your personal life to some degree. And then in the last 2 years, well, the whole world's changed for everybody. The shake-up started in 2018 when I left my job I'd had for almost 10 years and jumped into a trade that I had zero experience in. This move was brought on by a mixture of frustrations with the 10-year job and not being able to really identify what those frustrations were, just knowing that I didn't want to be there anymore. What moving into the new job gave me was the ability to look back and actually define those frustrations for myself later on down the track once the steep learning curve of the new job kind of wore off. With that new job I got the chance to use some of my videography and photography skills, and that kind of brought me full circle. I was like, this is what I've been missing in my life. I stopped following my passions, I was ignoring them, I was burying them down, and I was just in a rinse and repeat cycle with that 10-year job. And having this shake up, and it ultimately led me back to the videography and the photography in a trade job, who knew, but it showed me that this is the stuff I love to do, and this is what I want to pursue more of.
I did follow my passions from an early age, writing being my first. Then,
my dad was a photographer when we were growing up, and having that around me, a dark room in the backyard, made it easy for me to fall in love with it. And my dad's love for film and movies and all those sorts of things ultimately led me to filmmaking. And from 13, I started to create my own short films, enlisting my sisters and friends to act while I wrote and directed. They're amateur little movies now when I look back at them, but they were so much fun to make, and at the time I knew I was hooked. I thought, this is what I want to do when I grow up. So writing, photography, and video straight off the bat. I dabbled in a lot of other things, but ultimately I would always come back to these. As digital took over from film, I worked more closely with my dad, doing weddings and helping him with the digital side of things. Yet, by the time I got to my 21st birthday, I'd basically given up on this career. I could give you a bunch of reasons, which are more like excuses, but that's just what they are, excuses. Honestly though, maybe I was just lazy. I was young, I didn't really know how to push myself, and there was a lot of outside noise telling me that it's not really a career I could get into. And then, coupling that with my introverted nature, well, I stopped creating. I ended up getting a job at a cinema, and I worked there for a few years. So close-ish to my passion, right? I don't regret any of my story from back then. After all, that's where I met my wife, and we have 2 beautiful kids now. So without derailing that creative path, I don't think I would have had any of that in my life. So I'm eternally grateful for that. So priorities change, and you start doing the steps of life that the rat race kind of pushes onto you.
and I let myself bury my passions in pursuit of these.
But you should not. 2022, it's a new year. Go out there, make some time for them, and pursue them. And you do this by setting goals. Start with just 1 or 2 and see how you go. But you need to write them down on paper. This actually helps. It helped me anyway. You're more likely to achieve them this way, and you need to be very specific. So if you have a big goal like make a YouTube channel, you need to actually break that down into smaller tasks and make them achievable tasks. Writing make a YouTube channel can be incredibly vague. Anybody can make a YouTube channel? Tick. Doesn't Doesn't mean you post any content on it, doesn't mean you make a timeline. So whatever your goal may be, whatever that passion may be, break it down into smaller parts and write them down so they're more achievable. And attach a timeline to it. Putting a timeline to it creates a sense of urgency, kind of gives you deadlines to meet, so you can't just push them back. Passions are amazing and they're great when you're doing them, but they're also very easy to push back when life and work get in the way. So if you give yourself a timeline, then you can stick to it. And if you need to adjust it, that's fine. Push it back, write it down on that calendar again though, and try to avoid pushing back again. There are only 3 tools you need to achieve your goals. 1, a weekly diary. This gives you a detailed breakdown of what you're doing week to week. And then 2, a monthly kind of desk diary is what I find the best. Gives you a big overview of everything, and you can keep an eye on those dates that are coming up while you break them down a bit more into the weekly diary if you want to. And the 3rd one is a pen. Really, writing it all down just gives me such a better view of everything. It's kind of like getting the spew out of your brain onto paper, and you can make better sense of it. But see what works for you, and just try and pursue those goals in 2022. Pursue those passion goals in 2022, and adjust. So don't be sticking to this method, maybe that won't work for you. Be flexible, be kind to yourself, and try and get those goals ticked off this year. Good luck. Thanks.